Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I recently put out a call for questions. If you guys had any questions that you wanted me to answer, I answered a few of those last week, but in today's video, I wanted to dedicate this video completely to parenting, large family life questions. A lot of my questions kind of revolved around that topic, and so today I'm going to answer those questions. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Julie. I am a mom to 5. I homeschool. Let's go ahead and get started. My first question, how do you balance husband, children, God? Well, I feel like no matter what, it's always going to be a little bit of a juggling act. I don't think you can ever find the exact right balance. God should be kind of in and through everything in our day. I do take time first thing in the morning to spend with God in reading His Word and in prayer. I pray throughout the day. We also put a big priority on church. So we are faithful in our church. We talk about God through the day. God is He is the head of our family. I am obviously with my kids throughout the day, every single day, but I do try to get little moments here and there where I can talk one-on-one with the kids. We don't do a lot of like one-on-one dates. We do birthday dates. So each time my kids, one of them has a birthday, either my husband or I will take them out for a birthday meal. My kids go to bed usually around 8 o'clock each night, and so that time I can devote to being with my husband. We do like to go on date nights. We don't do that nearly enough, especially with COVID and then us moving. We don't have a babysitter close by at all, so our date nights have been few and far between. I think it's always a bit of a juggling act. I try to just devote whatever time I have, I try to devote that wholeheartedly to that, to what is at hand. So when I'm with my kids, I try to make the most of that time. And when my kids are in bed, I try to really get some good one-on-one time, quality time with my husband. I got a question talking about whining and how do I deal with whining? Basically, whining isn't allowed. That's basically how we go about it in our house. That's not to say that whining doesn't happen. And especially through the ages of like 3 and 4, I find those to be quite whiny ages. And I am all okay with my kids having emotions and even sharing their emotions, but I don't think their emotions should be ever shown with whining. Now, when they're toddlers and can't talk yet, that is a different story, but when they can talk and express themselves that way, then we don't allow for whining. So if my kids ask me something in a whiny voice, I'll say, ask that again without that whiny tone, and then we'll go from there. I get them to repeat themselves without that whiny voice. I don't think whining is ever necessary. Do you ever struggle with burnout, and how do you cope? Absolutely. There are times that I am just tired, dead tired. I am just all out of energy, but usually it's nothing that just going to bed early, having a nice quiet evening, or going out for a drive. My husband's usually pretty good and he can tell, like, you need to just get out. Like, why don't you call one of your sisters or a friend and go out for coffee tonight, have an evening off. So usually that is enough to kind of re-energize myself and be ready for a new day. Did you always know that you wanted a big family, and do you struggle being about with your 5 kids on your own? Okay, those are kind of different, separate questions. Did you always know you wanted a big family? I would say yes. I still remember when my husband and I were dating and we were talking about how many kids we would want. This is like a month or 2 into our dating. And I said 3 or 4 and he said 4 or 5. We're both from big families, so we definitely wanted a big-ish family as well. Do I struggle being out and about with 5 kids on my own? I am just getting to the point now where I feel like it is pretty easy to go out with them. If I am shopping or like in cramped spaces, it can be difficult in that we are just a big crowd. We are a lot of people to be like walking down an aisle together. But now that my youngest is 2, My older ones they know the rules, they know the routine, they know to stay close by. I find it actually quite simple right now. That's not to say it always was. Like whenever I had a baby and then a toddler too, those were the hard days. I feel like I'm kind of past that now, and it doesn't feel nearly as hectic to be out with them. What are your rules at mealtime with picky eaters? Okay, I am sounding like quite the strict parent with my answers, I think, for some of these questions. Okay, in general, they should eat what's put in front of them. As we are trying out new recipes, maybe I don't know if the kids will like it or not, I will give them a very small helping. As well, if I know that it's a food that they aren't a fan of, I will just give them a little helping, and they need to finish that small helping. I think it's good character building for them to learn to eat just a little bit of it, even if they don't like it, as they go out and they're eating at other people's houses as their guests. Whatever they're doing later in life, I think it's really good if they learn when they're young, you know what, just eat it. That being said, of course, if I know my child isn't a big fan of something, I won't always be serving it. I do like to serve what they like, but from time to time, they still will be served something that I know that they're not a big fan of, and I do want them to eat that helping. Sometimes they might just be full, and in that case I'll say, okay, just eat 5 more bites, or just eat 6 more bites, or if we're having dessert, you're not getting dessert unless you finish your plate. And so far I think this is working quite well, because my kids really are not very picky. Did being part of a large family impact your choice to have 5 kids and not more? No matter what size family you grow up with, I think that your upbringing, it always impacts what you will choose as you start your own family. I did a video all on large family life because this person also talks about me being from a family with 10 kids, and then my husband is also from a large family. There were 8 kids in his family. So I did a video, maybe I'll link it down below, where I talk kind of about my experience growing up in a large family. We obviously both enjoyed being in large families, and that's why we do have a large family, but we can also see, I guess, reasons why we didn't want to have that many kids as the families that we grew up in. Kind of a happy medium, I guess. I got the question, aren't you afraid of having more children than one? Well, that's obviously way back. We made that decision to have way more than one child years ago, but no. As I said, I grew up in a large family, and I'm sure that is a big part of it, but to me, having one child, if I had anything to do with it, having only one child was never even an option at all. We loved having siblings growing up. We wanted our kids to have siblings as well. I don't know what there would be to be afraid of, but we definitely wanted a number of children. My next question is about quiet time. How do you get your kids to stay in quiet time for the allotted time? So you guys know my kids still have quiet time every day, especially my younger ones. How do I get them to stay in quiet time? Basically, they just never grew out of naps. So they used to have naps in their cribs, then we moved on to toddler beds, and they had naps in their toddler beds. And of course, they gradually grew out of napping, grew out of that sleeping in the middle of the day. And so of course that was gradual, and I would say, okay, stay in your bed, go for a nap. If you don't fall asleep, that's okay. I'll keep your curtains open a little bit and you can read a book in your bed. And then of course, sometimes they would fall asleep, back when they were 2 or 3. And then they kind of grew out of that, and it was, okay, go to your bed. You can sit in your bed reading a book. You're gonna stay in your room for this amount of time until I come and get you. And that kind of just evolved from nap time to quiet time. They never stopped having quiet time. And so yeah, each of them go to their rooms still for an hour and a half, and they have quiet time. They can bring books, they can have maybe like a bucket of toys, they can play quietly, but they have quiet time in their rooms each day. My last question is an interesting one, and it says, do you think that having 5 children with a small age gap is an investment for later in life, or can you actually thrive, sleep, have a good marriage, and feel human right now during these years of my kids being young and all close in age? Well, We wanted to have our kids quite close in age, and I know some people like bigger age gaps between their kids, and there are pros and cons to each. I thought it would be easier to just stay in the baby stage, or kind of rolling from one baby to the next each time. Well, most of the times I had a new baby, I still had a toddler in diapers. I was still, you know, changing diapers. I was still pushing strollers, and all of the baby stuff I kind of was just continuing to do as each child came along. I do think that they are and are going to continue to be close friends because they are close in age. I think when they are close in age, it allows them to be kind of doing the same things at the same time and having that closer relationship as they grow up. So we chose to have our kids close in age, both for my husband and I wanted our kids close in age for our benefit, I guess, but we also wanted them close in age for themselves. So both of those were on our mind. I'm sorry if my lighting has just changed and gotten so dark. It was nice and sunny when I started filming this video, and all of a sudden it's overcast and rainy. And can we actually thrive, sleep, have a good marriage, have and feel human right now? Yes, absolutely. Yes, I definitely lost a lot of sleep each time I had a baby, but I don't think it would be easier or better to space that apart every 4 years than every year and a half or 2 years. I heard it said one time that if you have one child, they will take up all of your time. If you have 4 kids, they will take up all of your time. No matter what, when you are a parent and you have kids, they kind of absorb all of your time, don't they? Yes, it's busy, chaotic sometimes, but I still think them having each other, like I think a sibling is about the best gift you can give to your kids. They are such good friends. They get along some of the time. They fight hard some of the time. But having those built-in best friends, I think, is such a gift. I hope you enjoyed this little Q&A about large family life and kind of how we parent. If you have any other questions, leave them down below in the comments. I can definitely make more videos kind of delving into these topics a little bit more. I know you guys have lots of good questions for me on how we live as a large family, how we parent, all that good stuff. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my content, and I'll see you guys soon.